Healthcare workers are now getting their visas processed in 1 day.
Did you guys see that? So healthcare workers are now getting their visas approved within 1 day. I didn't say that, guys. So if you're a healthcare worker and you're looking at migrating to Australia to come and live and work here, start the process now.
So we can probably assume that today's Brian Schmidt would take their Nobel Prize and move to Canada instead.
I like the fact that she mentioned Canada. So I think now Australians are a bit scared because they are losing a lot of skilled migrants to Canada. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kwame Chumesi. As you guys are aware, there are some big changes coming to the Australian migration system. So this is all over YouTube, this is all over on Google. Okay, so there's tons and tons of information out there as to the sort of changes that are coming. So these are just changes. It hasn't been legislated yet, but some of the changes will take effect from the 1st of July 2023 and others will take effect getting to the end of 2023. So there are some big changes, okay, and the Minister of Home Affairs and Cybersecurity, Miss Claire O'Neill, actually named this as get skilled or sink. Okay, get skilled or sink. Before we get into it, please note that I'm not a migration agent or an educational agent. I'm just an individual living in Australia with a bit of experience, and I'm also well researched. So everything I'm going to discuss here today, just know that it's from pure research, it's from what the minister said, and also is from my opinion. Okay, I'll highly recommend you also do your research to back up everything I'm going to talk to you about in today's video. Without talking too much, let's go. All right, so in today's video, I'm actually going to use two sources. Okay, so the first source is I'm going to show you guys the report. So this is the review of the migration system. Okay, final report 2023. I'm not going to go through this report. It's really easy to read and understand, and when you go on Google, the report is there freely, so you guys can actually go and download it. Okay, so when you go into the report, just go all the way down to, let me quickly show you where to start reading from. Okay, so they've got chapters. All right, so here, so reform direction for government to consider. Okay, so again, this is not a legislation yet. Okay, they've not done the documentation and they've not passed the law yet. This is the government is still talking about this. Okay, yeah, so just go. I'll leave the link to this document in the description section below. Just go and have a read so you guys will understand the sort of changes that is coming into the Australian migration system. Okay, so reform direction to consider. Just go through one by one. They've actually clearly listed everything here in the number points form. Okay, so just go and have a read for yourself. This is like a lengthy document, up to 195 pages, and hey, I'm not going to go through it. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'll basically go and digest what the Minister of Home Affairs and Cybersecurity, Miss Claire O'Neill, spoke about in the National Press Club. Okay, so I'm using this source from the ABC News Australia YouTube channel. That's where I'm going to play this video from. Okay, I'm going to leave a link to this full video. This video goes for over 1 hour. Okay, I'm going to leave a link to this video in the description section below, so you guys can also go and watch it and also digest. Okay, so Minister Claire O'Neill is basically saying that Australia is going through like a work shortage. Okay, she's basically saying that the Australian migration system is broken and it's not helping us. It's not benefiting we Australians. It's also not benefiting, what do you call it, immigrants that are coming in here. So they need to make some changes so it benefits us Australians and also the immigrants. So let's just watch.
Our economy is stuck in a productivity rut and Australians are suffering because of it. Migration can help us change that. We are the developed country most at risk of a warming climate, but also the nation with most to gain from the transition to a net zero economy. But we need skills to help us be able to do it. We confront the most challenging geopolitical circumstances since the 1940s. Our country needs to build better sovereign capabilities, and we need to do it fast. Our ageing population will demand more workers in health and aged care than our domestic population will be able to provide. Migration will never substitute our laser focus on skilling Australians. It is not the full answer to any of the problems that I've described, but it is part answer for all of them. If populate or perish described Australia's challenge in the 1950s, skill up or sink is the reality that we face in the 2020s and beyond.
So you guys heard it, guys. So basically, Australia is going through tough times, okay? Tough times with our economy, and we are a growing population, and basically immigration can solve some of our problems, okay? Yeah, so she's called this skill up or sink. So basically, all what she's trying to say is immigration can solve some of the issues Australia is currently having. Yeah, it's currently having, and she wants to base this as to Australia skilling up a lot of people. So inviting people with high skills to come to Australia and work. Okay, so basically making things easier for skilled people. Okay, so if you're a highly skilled individual coming to Australia, they're going to do things so when you are migrating here, it's going to be easy for you. And I like the fact that she's noticed that Australia needs help, and immigration or migrants can actually help solve some of our problems. Alright guys, so I'm just going to be skipping. I cannot go through the whole 1 hour video, so I'll be skipping through. Okay, then as we go on, I explain what she's talking about, okay, from my own point of view.
Since coming to government, my friend and colleague, Minister Andrew Giles, and I have been very focused on this enormous challenge. And in November last year, we asked former Secretary of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, Dr. Martin Parkinson, to work with 2 of Australia's foremost migration experts, Professor Joanna Howe and John Azarias, to help our government get this system working in our national interest. And today we have released their report. Martin, Joe and John brought deep expertise and commitment to this work. It has been essential to us, particularly the report's clear articulation of objectives and guardrails, and I thank them for their work. Today, I am also releasing a draft outline of a new migration strategy for Australia built in the national interest. This document outlines a series of directions for significant reform of this system, which we will work on, consult on and refine before we release a final strategy later this year. So today I want to do 2 very simple things. I want to explain what is going wrong in our migration system and how our government plans to fix it.
Again, so basically they had like a team, okay, a team of people that did a deep dive into our migration system. Okay, so the report she's going to be reading or summarizing for us is not legislated yet, okay? It's just a draft, and they are going to pass on the law getting to the end of this year, okay? And she's going to go through that with us now.
The first big problem is that our migration system today is not delivering Australia the skills we need for the challenges that I have set out. Who we invite to come and join us in our national endeavours is one of the most important questions that the Australian government asks on behalf of its people. It is a question that deserves care and love and attention. But over the last decade, it has been treated with disgraceful neglect. Australia's historic migration success has been rooted in permanency and citizenship. We give people the opportunity to get established in our community, to educate their children and to become Australian. Today, our system is dominated by a large temporary migration program, and that program is not well designed. The tools which are meant to help us ensure that the temporary migrants that come here have the skills that we need is broken and back the front. To determine skills needs, we use outdated occupation lists that don't reflect the needs of the economy, and labour market testing that both business and unions agree isn't working. And the effect of many of these rules is that we're missing out on the highly skilled workers that we need. We use an income threshold to define temporary workers who come here as skilled. The idea is that they're here because they're bringing to our country things that Australians can't do. Almost 10 years ago, that threshold was frozen by the former government at $53,900. That is below that is below the earnings of 90% of Australia's full-time workers. So what that means is that every year for the last decade, a growing share of people entering Australia on temporary skilled visas are being funneled into low-wage jobs. Under Peter Dutton, in his long-term role as Immigration and Home Affairs Minister in our country, our skilled worker program morphed into a guest worker program. What he created was an immigration system which favoured temporary migration and increasingly lower paid jobs. And these are the two essential ingredients to the worker exploitation that we know is occurring in Australian workplaces. International students are a very important part of this puzzle. We are incredibly privileged in Australia.
Okay, so what she's basically saying is there's an income threshold. Okay, so this is for people that are on visa 491 that wants to become permanent residents. They need to show that they are earning at least 53,900. Okay, so she's saying that this income threshold is really low because most people that works in Australia gets more pay than the 53,900, and most employers in Australia are actually using this as an opportunity to underpay, what do you call it, skilled migrants. Yeah, so she wants us to change that. Yeah, so I think she's going to propose something in later on, which is we increasing that TSS. This is called TSS. Okay, increasing the TSS from 53,900 to 70,000.
To train many young people in our brilliant universities.
She's also talking about international students.
Those students are meant to come here to study. And the bar that we set for their entry is simply whether they will be able to perform in Australia's education system. The problem is that today, international students are the largest component of our temporary migration program and the single biggest feeder into our permanent program. More than half of the people who received a permanent skilled visa under our current system arrived in Australia initially as an international student. The links between our temporary and permanent migration programs aren't working. The formula that we use to determine which temporary migrants get the chance to become permanent residents and eventually a citizen doesn't help us select for the skills and capacities we need to build Australia's future. So the upshot is this. Australia's migration system has today become dominated by a very large, poorly designed temporary program which is not delivering the skills we need to tackle urgent national challenges. And that program creates the essential ingredients for the exploitation of migrant workers. The second problem I want to
all right, so she's talking about international students and also a lot of migrants being stuck at the temporary residency level. Okay, so a lot of people come in here as international students, but later on becomes permanent. Okay, and there's no clear pathway as to you moving from like a temporary residence when you're an international student to becoming a permanent resident. So I think they are going to make things very clear for people to easily move from being like a temporary residence to becoming a permanent resident. This is really good. But I think I'm a bit scared about the international student part because I've already watched this. I think they are going to tighten up the requirements, okay, as to how to get here. But again, they are going to make things easier for international students that possesses some sort of skills that Australia needs to easily move on to becoming, what do you call it, a permanent resident after they finish with their studies, which is really good. So this is a bit exciting, but also a bit scary because I think they are going to really tighten up people that are coming here as international students.
Explain is how our migration system turned into a bureaucratic nightmare. Our system is slow and crazily complex. And this
I agree with that. So the current migration system here is very slow, okay? For you to get a visa grant is going to take ages because there's a lot, like the system is like chaos. It's like it's like mind busting, okay? There's no streamlined or straight system for people to easily apply for a visa in Australia. It's like it's all tangled. Yeah, so it's crazy. So I think they are going to make things really easy and really straightforward, so people can actually come. If people want to apply for a visa and come here with their skills, it's going to be really, really easy. And I like the fact that she's actually admitting that the current migration system is all over the place.
This has real consequences for the quality of our migration program. We have hundreds of visa categories and subcategories.
That is
true.
true.
It is a mess of 3-digit visa codes, the 186, the 864, the 408. So complicated that if I drew you a diagram, it would look like a tangled bowl of spaghetti.
Yep.
We have a visa class for just about everything, including one specifically for the crew of super yachts. And we add to that more than 1,300 separate labour agreements, tailoring these visas to specific circumstances. We add rigid occupation lists which are incapable of adjusting fast enough, especially for growing industries like the tech sector, and an achingly slow process to recognise skills and qualifications earned in other country. And what you get is a system that is heaving with rules, forms and bureaucracy. Large businesses that have massive HR departments find the migration system impossible to navigate, and small businesses have got Buckley's chance of being able to use it to fill a skills gap.
Yep, this is so true. So even Australians, so this is in regards to what do you call it, like let's say visa subclass 482. An employer that is looking at sponsoring someone with a skill set overseas is impossible, because it's so complicated for them to even get the grant. Okay, for like a business in Australia, or for an HR person that works in a company to invite someone over with the sort of skill sets or qualification that they need to come into Australia and work. The visa or the migration system is so complicated, and most of these, what they call it, business owners, or most of these HR people just get discouraged and they keep looking for people that are already in Australia. So looking for people offshore that's got the sort of skill set that they need, the government doesn't make it easy for them. That's why most of you are applying. A lot of these employers will be like, oh, I'm sorry, we are only looking for people that are onshore. It's not their fault, because for them to get the go-ahead to invite someone or to sponsor someone to come work for them, it's not easy. The migration system or the visa system is so complicated. I'm very happy they are now aware of this issue, and hopefully they do something to solve this problem.
For migrants, the consequence is paying exorbitant fees to migration agents just so they can navigate the system.
True.
And these problems are much more than just an irritation.
Migration agents are taking tens and thousands of dollars, guys. It's not easy just to assist you, just to give you information. So I'm also so happy that they are aware of this issue.
Remember that other developed countries are competing for the same migrants that we need here in Australia, for aged care nurses, for engineers, for tech experts. The complexity and delay can put them off Australia altogether. Professor Brian Schmidt is the Vice-Chancellor of Australian National University and one of the finest minds of his generation. He came to Australia in the 1990s and he was granted a visa in 4 days. Today's world-leading young astrophysicist would wait many months just to get an answer out of our current system.
That's
and that's
so
if
true.
she or he were lucky and could find their occupation on the rigid skills list. So we can probably assume that today's Brian Schmidt would take their Nobel Prize and move to Canada instead.
I like the fact that she mentioned Canada. So I think now Australians are a bit scared because they are losing a lot of skilled migrants to Canada. Why? Because our Australian visa system delays a lot, man. Like I did my last video, I did it on visa subclass 491, and people will have to wait for at least 30 months to get like a visa approval. Okay, 30 months, man. That's like 2.5 years just to get, yep, your visa is granted or not. So I think now they've realized that due to all these delays, they are losing a lot of these skilled migrants to Canada. And I like the fact that she mentioned Canada in here.
And that is a national tragedy. That because of our migration system, this is probably happening to us all the time. Our migration program is also failing once migrants have arrived in Australia. Worker exploitation hurts our migrants and it hurts Australians. It is completely contrary to Australian values, and I do not know a single person who would defend it. And yet, we all know this is happening. So going forward, we need to design out the opportunity from this system to exploit migrants as much as we can. I said up front that our migration program was unstrategic and unplanned, and there is no better example of that than in our housing market. Our country faces genuine and significant challenges providing safe, affordable housing for Australians.
It's true. I again did a video on the kind of rental crisis Australia is currently facing. Yep, so I think with this new visa system, they are going to solve that problem too, because man, housing crisis and rental crisis is crazy now. I said that in my last video. I'm going to leave a link at the top. Go and watch it, man. Australia is currently going through like a rental or housing crisis.
These problems are not caused by migrants. There are hundreds of thousands of fewer migrants in the country now than there would have been had we not shut the borders due to COVID. And yet we are still facing these very substantial difficulties with housing. Our housing problem in Australia is the fault of 10 years of gross inaction by a federal government that never had a serious housing policy, not for a day. And the fact that there is no way for our three levels of government to work together to plan for housing, services and infrastructure needs that result from population changes. A final failure I want to mention is that our migration system is not aligned with Australian values. First, integrity. Because the former government was asleep at the wheel, abuse of our visa system has gone unchecked. We need more resources in Home Affairs, focused on ensuring that migrant worker exploitation is identified and addressed. Second, fairness. Too many migrants are stuck in permanently temporary limbo. And third, inclusion. There is a big opportunity for us here to tap the potential of people who are already here in our country, such as migrant women who are being held back by slow and tedious skills recognition processes.
True.
So let me summarise the four problems I've talked about. We have just lived through a wasted decade where continental drift and passivity have allowed Australia's migration system to deteriorate. What has emerged is a system where it is increasingly easy for migrants to come to Australia in search of a low-paid job, but increasingly difficult for migrants with the skills that we desperately need. Our migration system is ridiculously complex, making the system difficult to use, which deters the people that we need the most.
So true. It's very complex.
We're not doing enough to plan for and look after migrants when they arrive, and we need to restore Australian values to the heart of this system.
Thank you.
We've been in government now for almost a year, and in that time we have made enormous progress on some of the most acute problems facing this system. Minister Andrew Giles has done absolutely tremendous work, dramatically reducing the 1 million long visa backlog. Healthcare workers are now getting their visas processed in 1 day.
Did you guys see that? So healthcare workers are now getting their visas approved within 1 day. I didn't say that, guys. So if you're a healthcare worker and you're looking at migrating to Australia to come and live and work here, start the process now. Once you go through the whole process, your visa is going to get approved within 1 day. I didn't say this. The Minister of Home Affairs and Cybersecurity just said that, okay, which is awesome. This is good news, guys. So if you're a healthcare worker, you know what to do.
We are changing the culture and dynamic in our department, giving more resources to this part of Home Affairs and bringing migration right back into the centre of what we do.
Awesome.
Business and unions welcomed a larger permanent skilled migration program last year to help us deal with what was the worst labour shortage that we have experienced since the Second World War. That included 34,000 skilled migrants that settled in our regions where there are particular shortages.
Wow, so more people
in
coming in
February,
here.
we delivered on an election commitment to provide permanent visa pathways for approximately 20,000 existing temporary protection visa and safe haven enterprise visa holders.
Wow.
And last week, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that as of July 1 this year, New Zealanders living in Australia will have a pathway to Australian citizenship just as Australians do when they live in New Zealand.
This is so awesome, man. So again, another great news for New Zealand citizens. So basically, if you're a New Zealand citizen and you are living in Australia for 4 years now, you don't need to become a permanent resident first before becoming a citizen. You can straight away apply to become a citizen. This is great news for New Zealanders. I think this is great news, and also some people might think that Australia is trying to play smart and steal the skilled workers of New Zealand people. Yeah, it seems like it, but this is also great news, because I know a lot of New Zealanders that are living here on a temporary basis. Yes, they can just migrate and live in Australia, but they don't become a permanent resident. But with this great news, any New Zealand person living in Australia for 4 years can straight away apply to become Australian citizen, which is awesome. So this is another great news, guys.
New Zealanders are the single largest group of permanently temporary migrants in Australia.
Yeah, they are.
Treating them in the same respectful way that Australians are treated when they live in New Zealand is the right thing to do, and it is very important to the relationship between our two countries.
Wow.
Today, I'm proposing directions for a significant reform of our migration system. Our overall goal is to end a decade of ad hoc and piecemeal changes to this system and embark on a genuine reform that will set us up for a more prosperous and secure Australia in the 2020s and beyond.
Wow.
First, we need to fix the biggest problem we have, that is redesigning the system to get the skills here that we need. We have begun consultation on a proposal to restructure our temporary skilled migration program to make sure that this system is delivering the skills that we need to take our nation forward. The draft outline of the Australian migration strategy that I'm releasing today proposes that we consider 3 new pathways for temporary skilled migrants to come to our country, tightly tailored to the needs we have out of this system.
Nice.
The first is a pathway which is fast and simple for the specialised, highly skilled workers we need to drive innovation in our economy and help us build the jobs of the future.
Okay, so they are trying to create like new TSS visas, okay? And this is going to be streamlined to people that are highly skilled in the tech and innovation field, because I think as the world is moving towards that direction, we are now in a technological world with like a lot of artificial intelligence programs that are popping up. We are now moving towards that direction. So I think they are going to also introduce like a new TSS, okay, like the TSS Visa 482 for like as highly skilled people, okay, and they're going to make the visa process really easy for them to migrate to Australia. So if you are in the tech and innovation, field, please listen attentively and also be on the lookout, okay? This is the best time for you to also go and upgrade yourself if you are into that, the tech and innovation field, okay? Go and upgrade yourself. So when they legislate this, you can pack up your bags and jump to Australia.
The second is a mainstream skilled pathway to bring in the core skills we need. So for this stream, we would focus on proper evidence-based assessments of labour shortages rather than the current outdated approaches that everyone agrees are not working.
Wow.
This pathway would include skilled migrants who are earning above an increased temporary skilled migration income threshold to make sure that when we say we're bringing skilled people into the country, that is actually what we're doing.
Okay, so again, they are going to bring skilled migrants that earns a certain income, okay, overseas. So one of the criteria they are going to bring is they'll look at how much you are earning in your home country. I might be wrong, okay, and I stand to be corrected. So they are going to look at how much you earn. So let's say if you're someone living in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Zimbabwe, okay, or India, and you claim that you are highly skilled, they are going to look at how much you are currently getting paid, okay? And if your income meets a certain threshold, that means you are highly skilled, hence that's why you are getting paid that amount, and you're going to make like an easy visa process for these sort of skilled, highly skilled people to migrate to Australia.
And the third stream relates to essential industries. One of the reasons there is so much exploitation in Australia is because we have allowed low-wage migration programs to operate in the shadows, for example, through exploitation of our international student visa system. And this has allowed areas of the economy that rely on these workers to either create massive opportunities for exploitation, or subject those sectors to ongoing chronic labour shortages which put enormous pressure on the people that work in them. So instead of pretending that some students are here to study when they are actually here to work, we need to look at creating proper, capped, safe, tripartite pathways for workers in key sectors such as care. Not only would this provide better support for those industries, it would provide far greater protections for the workers that we depend on.
You're going to tighten up things.
We will propose to reform the way we determine which temporary migrants end up as permanent residents and ultimately citizens. And a critical change here is how we design what is called the points test. Now, this may sound a little bit boring and technical, but it is absolutely crucial. Every year, our country selects roughly 100,000 permanent residents using the points test. By 2050, it is possible that we will have millions of additional people here who have been selected using this test, but the current test is not working properly. Ooh. The bar is set too low, and today the points test rewards persistence, not the skills we need for Australia's future.
Okay, so what she basically said in that is Australia has got like a point testing system. Okay, so most of the occupations on the skilled occupation list, you need to meet a certain point. You need to meet a certain point, which is mostly over 65 points for you to qualify. So she's basically saying they are going to recalibrate, okay, and make the point testing system more tough. I might be wrong, but that is what I just got from what she basically said, okay? So they're going to tighten up the point testing system. I'm actually a bit scared as to what they're going to do with it, because if they make things too tight, meaning a lot of people will not be able to come to Australia.
Getting that points test right could add tens of billions of dollars to the federal budget over the coming decades and make a real difference to economic growth in our country.
She's got a point.
And Australia needs to enter the competition for global talent. We need to make a big switch in our thinking, from the passivity that drives the system today to active engagement with the people we think can help build our country's future. We propose creating a new area in the Home Affairs Department, which will work with the new Jobs and Skills Australia body that has been established by our government to help identify skills needs in Australia's economy. And under this proposal, we would go out into the world and find the migrants that Australia needs and talk to them about joining us in our national journey.
Wow, so they are basically going to create a new department in the Home Affairs. Okay, that will actually go out and look for people with extreme talent, and they'll actually give them a proposal to come and live and work in Australia. This is really, really good, okay, and this is really awesome. So again, if you are highly skilled, you know what to do. Yeah, make sure you upgrade yourself, because Australia is now looking for really skilled people. Again, as she said, the skilled, so get skilled or sink. Okay guys, so I'm basically going to end it here, okay, but in summary, what she's basically saying is one, they are going to increase the TSS threshold, okay, so the TSS threshold from 53,900 to 70,000. So basically, people that wants to become Australian residents, you need to be earning at least 70,000 for you to qualify to become a permanent resident. They are going to do that. Two, they are going to have like a clear permanent residency pathway for temporary migrants, like a clear pathway for them, because I know a lot of students that are a lot of temporary residents or students that jumps from one visa to the other to the other to the other before even having the chance to become a permanent resident. They are going to scrap that. This also includes people holding TSS Visa 4A2. So if you are holding Visa 4A2, you now have the chance or a clear pathway of you becoming a permanent resident, which is good. And three, they are going to tighten up how international students come here. So basically, if you say you're an international student and you are coming here to study, you are actually coming here to study and not coming here to focus on work. So point number 4 is basically, if you are like a New Zealand citizen that is currently residing in Australia, if you've been living here for 4 years, you do not need to become a permanent resident before becoming a citizen. So if you are living here for 4 years and above, you can straight away apply to become an Australian citizen, which is awesome. And the other things I got from these is basically they are processing healthcare workers visa within 1 day. So if you're a healthcare worker and you're living overseas and you want to come and live and work in Australia, go through the process now. Okay, so we are still using the old process. Go through the old process now, and once everything is okay, your visa may be approved within 1 day, which is awesome. 5, they are going to simplify things. Okay, so reduce the complexity of the Australian migration visa system. So everything is complex now. They are going to make sure they decomplex things. Okay, make things easier for people to understand the Australian visa system. And point number 6 is they are going to recalibrate the point testing system. Okay, they are going to tighten up things. So which direction is it going to go? Are they going to make things easy, or they're going to make things more complicated? I'm not too sure yet, but as to what I heard from her, they are going to recalibrate and tighten up the point testing system, so things becomes really tough. Point number 7 is they are going to have a different sector. They are going to open a different sector in the Home and Affairs Department that will go and look for global talent. Okay, they'll actually go look outside of Australia for people that are highly skilled and talented, and propose to them for them coming to join us as Australian permanent residents, and many more. Okay, so these are the sort of big changes that is coming into Australia. Okay, so this is just a reform. Okay, it's not legislated yet. So starting from the 1st of July, some will start, and also getting to the end of this year, which is end of 2023, some will start. Okay, so this is just a reform at this stage. They've not passed any law yet. Okay, yeah, so guys, I'm actually very excited as to the changes that are coming, but I'm also a bit optimistic because I'm not too sure what they are going to do. Okay, because even though it sounds so exciting, and some also sounds what are they really going to do, I'm not too sure as to what they are going to do with it. So we just have to wait for a couple of months to actually understand the sort of changes they are going to bring. Okay, I'm just hoping these changes are really easy for most of our skilled migrant brothers and sisters that are living overseas to join us easily. Okay, but again, as I said, I'm a bit optimistic because I'm a bit scared if they are going to make things really hard. Okay, because I know Australians, man, it may sound easy, but you never know, it's going to come with a punch on your face. Okay, so again, my name is Kwame Chume. So if you find this content useful, you know what to do. Just click on that subscribe button, ring on that notification bell so you do not miss out when I release any other useful content. I'm back again. I'm going to be bringing you lots and lots of migration videos, and also videos about the work life style and business in Australia. See you in my next video. Bye.